Welcome, Shintin. So Ben Kramer is going to talk about a tool that you guys can use, which is a dictionary based on all the translations I ever did. Ben's been working on a dictionary for a few years with Bets also, Utpala. Who else? Me? Mm-hmm. So once a week they have a meeting on Skype, and they've been working very hard on creating a dictionary from all my old translations. How far are you gone? I don't know. Halfway?
Oh, that's a good question. More like a third. That's probably
They're
right.
like 1/3 finished, but they're creating a dictionary for our translation team, which is correct, and which is based on my studies, Geshe studies. So, and they've made some very nice tools. So it will help you with your translations, okay? Everybody can use this for their translations. I don't need those tools, so I haven't seen them. But here we go. He's going to explain, Ben's going to explain what they're doing and how to use it. And this is all being sponsored by Dr. Wu. Thank you very much. Okay, go.
I love this tool. The tool is actually still developing. Okay, so what we have now, what we're looking at the moment, and I'll show you one of the ways that I'm using it personally in a moment. This is the interface that we use to create new data. Okay, a lot of you are, okay, sure. A lot of you are using this already. So we take work that's been done by Geshe Michael, and then we connect the specific Tibetan words with the specific English words that he used in the translation. We can split words up. So, for example,
that one didn't stack right.
Yeah, there are problems. It's true. There are still problems with the rendering. One of the issues is that we need more programmers. And we have a bottleneck of one poor guy who gets all of the programming work in the world dumped on him. Thank you, Venerable Phil, for doing so many jobs at one time. And he could use more support. And so we're using a program that's essentially 10 years old to do this, but it's an extraordinary program. We use a lot of different dictionaries. What we hope to do is to start pushing towards what the next generation of dictionary will be for the next generation of translator. And that means understanding context. That's why this program is called HyperText, is because it allows you to understand not just how a word can be used, but where it has been used and in what ways. So in a traditional paper dictionary, you're limited to only very specific traditional definitions. There are a lot of different types of definitions that are appropriate. I'm going to change this. You see that it renders in Tibetan. We do have some problems with the way that it renders in Tibetan, but since people here are now getting more familiar, we can display also in Roman characters. So we can find, here we go, Dungi Nam.
Can you raise that up to the top of the screen?
Sure, I can. So for example, okay, Dungi Nam Ka La has been treated as a phrase, okay, and also the word Namka has been broken out, okay. So in the space before you is a phrase that you might find in a lot of texts. We can treat that larger phrase because then when people find it in the dictionary that we'll produce, we do have a version of the dictionary, but it's still under development. So what it will allow a person to do is see not only multiple definitions of a given word, but be able to click on each possible definition of that word and jump to the places where a translator used that specific word in that specific way. So sometimes people will look at a dictionary. What we've found are some particularly sophisticated uses of Tibetan words into English rendered by Geshe Michael. A person might hear one of these translations and say, oh, I don't know if it's true that that word means that. Okay, and we can say, well, it depends on the context, but then we can prove the context by clicking on the link in the dictionary and jumping specifically to the place where Geshe-Michael used that particular word to mean that particular thing, and show someone that in that context, that was the most appropriate. For example, you could translate this as sky or space, right? Namka can mean either one. It would be inappropriate to say in the sky before you in this case, okay? So if you want to know when would I say space instead of sky, in that dictionary you could click on this and jump to each of the times where it was used to mean space as opposed to sky, and see that that context is appropriate. One of the ways that I'm also using it right now, I'm going to go to your Dropbox if that's okay, Nick, and I'm going to find the SCIM translation.
Back up.
Oh, here we go.
Down one.
Down one. Here we go. Okay. I'm going to go here and year one texts, and I just dropped this in here. At the moment for myself, oh, it didn't update. That's okay. At the moment for myself, I'm making links with my own text to show me that I've made a word-for-word correlation, that I'm not leaving words out. Okay? So that's very helpful for me in checking my work. There is a built-in dictionary down here at the bottom of the screen. It's not great. It's a combination of a lot of so-so dictionaries. I think this is Valby, this is Waldo, this is Rangjung Yeshe. The people working on the project right now use this to sort of jog their memory if it's a term they're familiar with, but we're already using the bits of the data that we've produced from Geshe-Michael's previous translations to help us get better, clearer words to help us to understand when we see words here that we aren't yet familiar with. Our hope is that this is going to help translators to become a lot more sophisticated in their own translations. It's a tool to have by your side. It doesn't, this program won't automate translation itself, okay? Because of course our hope is that we will always have humans at the wheel of translation, but it does provide data that, for example, someone like Google could and may well end up using to do automated translations. And we're producing so much data with this that we have an opportunity to provide an organization like Google with a higher quality of word-for-word translation because we happen to have an unusually good translator. We're making all of our data from texts that Geshe-Michael translated, and at this point, no one else. Maybe sometime in the future there will be someone else who we feel comfortable using. We haven't been at that point yet, and probably won't talk about it until we finish everything that Geshe-Michael has translated to create a complete lexicon of his work, and then he can talk about whether or not one of you have reached the point we can start putting your words in as well. To expand on a best case scenario of the words we can use. There are a lot of archaic translations that are used commonly now. I feel very strongly, and I think this is because of Geshe-Michael's influence, that the scholarly translations that are created in a lot of academic settings are designed for people who already speak Tibetan, which makes their translation necessarily not needed in the world because the reader can read the Tibetan. Which is absurd because that's most of the work that had been done prior was for people who already read the language they were reading the English for. Okay, so we're writing for the next generation of reader who doesn't already speak Tibetan. We're creating dictionary tools that are in a colloquial, common usage, and we're producing a lot of words. I'm very glad that Mr. Wu is here because we're incredibly grateful to get to be working on this project. And we, in an effort to show you some of what we were doing, I think we sent along a paper volume of a very large dictionary that we've produced. But But this dictionary that we could show you on paper is nothing compared to the data that sits underneath it. This is just dead paper. But this dictionary is alive with layer after layer that allows you to jump through every time that a certain word has been used and show you how you would use it. So we're incredibly excited about this project. It's a joy to get to work on. I also think for two big reasons that it's possibly the best way to learn Tibetan. On one level, you get to peer into the mind. And we have these beautiful discussions every Wednesday or Thursday, pretty much. We spend a few hours together. Wherever we are in the world, we meet on Skype and we share our screen and we jump into the mind of Geshe Michael and play with the different meanings that he was playing with each word. And so that brings us closer to understanding Tibetan, I think, more quickly than any other teaching tool that you could use on your own, short of sitting at the feet of a teacher spoon feeding you like we're experiencing now. I think on another level, we're creating the karma to understand Tibetan by protecting the words and protecting the future meaning, which creates the seeds to understand Tibetan yourself as well. So I think those of you learning Tibetan who want to become a part of this project, we could use the help. And if you want to understand Tibetan, I don't know that there's a better independent study tool available to you than working on protecting the meaning and the translations, the color of translation, the depth of this language that has synonym after synonym after synonym that you can only really engage in with a dictionary that allows you to look much deeper into the possible meaning of words than any pile of paper could ever allow. Yes?
Can you show us how you do it?
Sure. Okay, let's do that. Okay.
You actually open a text
So texts are minimally formatted. What I did in the case of the texts that we've been using, I've been following along, partially to help Allison because she's so new to Tibetan and she's getting lost in her text. So I've been keeping hypercontext with the texts we're using now open here so that I can click along and show her where we're at. It has a built-in dictionary. It's not great. I don't always use it, but it's helpful as a reference tool. All I'm doing is putting a little mark at the very beginning. I don't know if you can see this.
By the way, that's what the dictionary looks like underneath.
Yep.
You don't see this. The user doesn't see this, but this is what their team has to do to create the dictionary.
So
and that links the Buddhist word to the English word.
So for example, look at, okay, lam, rim, chem, mo, okay? Okay? This is what this looks like, all right, underneath.
This is the programming level. This is what it looks like underneath.
Okay, so you see the number 1 is capturing the full term lam, rim, chem, mo, okay? There's a bracket by the 1 and there's a bracket on the other side of mo, okay? The bracket number 2, okay, is just capturing lam, rim, okay?
This one. Yeah. First one.
I
was
can't.
This one.
I apologize. Okay.
should be able to
Third one.
Number 3 is just the word lam.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rim and chimo.
Number 4 is just the word rim. And number 5 is the word chenmo. Okay. So from this word, okay, we've created.
Can I say something?
Surely.
When you make artificial intelligence from this, okay, it will go like this. The computer will look up the word lam. If it finds it, it will look up lam rim. If it finds it, it will go to lam rim chen. If it finds it, it will go to lam rim chenmo. And if it doesn't find the next thing, it'll stop and it'll put in the translation. And that's artificial intelligence translation. That's in the future, you will talk into the thing and it will translate as you go. Ancient book. Okay? I mean, that's how it's going to work, but that will take 10 years or something.
To prepare a text for me to be able to use in this program here, I just, whoops, excuse me.
Uh-oh.
No, no problem.
Don't mess up my text.
No problem. I won't save it, okay? I just add this little T marker, okay? This T indicates Tibetan. That's all I did, okay? To allow a program to be used, it just tells it in Tibetan. If I'm switching back and forth between Tibetan and English, then I also use an E marker.
Right underneath it.
Right underneath it, okay? You see the little E marker right underneath, allows me to switch back and forth. That's all that it takes, okay? So you see that from this term, Lamrim Chemo, we've produced how many dictionary entries?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5, right, including Lamrim Chemo, okay? So the built-in dictionary also tries to identify the longest term. You click on it again, it gets the next longest. You click on it again, it gets what's left. Now, you may want to click, if you click around in the middle, then you get different terms. You can, again, isolate them however you want. So let's do this one together, okay? I'm going to undo this one, we'll redo it, okay? I'm not going to save anything, I won't undo Nick's work. Okay, here. Okay, so here's the word Lamrim Chemo, okay? Who, other than Geshe Michael, can tell me? Where is Lamrim Chemo in the English? Okay, what term there is Lamrim Chemo?
The great book on the steps of the path.
Let's do that, okay? The great book on the steps of the path, okay? So I'm gonna grab this, all right? I'm gonna hit spacebar, okay? We just made an entry, okay? That's one, okay?
Yeah, you just linked it.
Okay, what did that do? That put a 1 next to Lamrim Chemo, and it put a 1 next to the great books on the steps of the path. You see? Okay, what other words can I get from Lamrim Chemo? Lamrim, let's do it. Okay, Lamrim, what's Lamrim?
Steps of the path.
Steps of the path.
Let's do it, the steps of the path. Okay, space.
It links it.
Okay, there we go. So we have the greater and the sublink. Okay, what other words do we have? Chemo. Let's do it. What's it mean?
The great.
Yeah, I like the great. You see, so this is cool. This is a good example. Okay? We could have just said great for Chenmo, and sometimes it means great, okay? But Chenmo, right, means the great.
Not great.
Okay? And you're not likely to see that in a dictionary. Okay? Our dictionary can show more meaning because it doesn't have to sit on your lap. It's not going to break your desk. Okay? All right? So yeah, the great.
We didn't do long rib.
Let's do it. We did do lam rim.
I'm sorry, we didn't
Okay.
do lam.
Let's do lam. Does anyone see lam?
And we didn't do rim.
Yeah.
Path. Okay. Path. Great. What else?
Rim.
Rim. Cool. What is it?
Steps.
Cool. Anything else? Did we get them all?
Yeah.
Sure.
You pretty much got them all.
Well, I think I see at least one more we could do. Okay, here's rim. Hey, check this out, okay? What about just Chen without
That's
Mo?
Yeah.
You see? Let's do that. Let's say Chen just means great, okay, without the Mo, and that's another entry. Okay? I think
Now it's 5.
I think we're up to 6 now. We beat Nick. Okay? Okay? There's a lot of minds working together, okay? As a group, including Nick, we're smarter than Nick. Okay?
By the way, the greatest dictionary of English is from Oxford English Dictionary. It took 150 years to write the dictionary. And it's called contextual. It means thousands of people around the world wrote down when they saw in a book that word. And they wrote it on paper and they mailed it to London. And they have many rooms full of papers. And they can tell you when was this word first used, when was the second time this word was used, what's the third time this word was used in history. And they have the dates, and the books are huge. It's 12 volumes. And this is already the same thing. You see? Because you can go see where the word was used. Like you can click and you go to Asanga, and you click and you go to Vasabandhu, and you click and you go to Tsongkhapa, and you can see where the word was used. Contextual. Yes.
Last thing.
Question
Oh,
from
sure,
Steph.
please.
I just want to know, so now you're showing us how you can input the data.
Yeah.
How can we use the
Yeah,
data?
you did show
Right.
us.
Like I said, that program is still under, I have an early version of it, okay, on my machine. It's not pretty yet, okay, so I'm not showing it off yet. We need more time and money and programmers to work on it, okay, to make something that looks as pretty as I want to show you. We can muddle our way through it and use the data. At the moment, it's, you know, it's like that paper dictionary that we showed you, okay, on one hand, or it's a text file that's searchable, okay? We have a version, okay? Venerable Phil has written a version. It's hard to read because it still shows the links at the moment, okay? And it only jumps around in single files, so it makes a dictionary out of one file and allows you to jump around within that file. Eventually, we'll be able to jump around in multiple files, okay?
Do you remember the Shanghai team who did the Windows version?
Yeah.
File is a course, you said, right?
Do you?
They can help.
Yeah, well, they mentioned AI for
Yeah.
dictionary,
Yeah.
and they, by just doing the Gopher, they realized that there are so many data. that
Yeah,
they
yeah, 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 yeah.
use, and
We
they
can work on it, yeah.
propose that.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
That's really all I have to say. I just, you know, a note that came to me about whether or not you do a word like Chen inside of it. We sometimes go through a debate about whether or not to do, how many levels of meaning to do. And again, because we're not working in paper, we are often saying to each other, more data is always better. It never hurts to do more data. So if we are asking ourselves, well, is this a common phrase or not? It doesn't matter. We are not, there's never too much data to be produced. It always makes a file richer and richer and makes the dictionary richer and richer because we don't have to limit it by shelf size.
It's more information
Right,
about how.
right.
And I like that it's being done by a team. So
Mm.
it's so you have three smart people thinking about it as a team. Beth is from Harvard originally, and she worked
Born
for,
there.
Microsoft. She was a manager at Microsoft for many years, and so and she's a nun. So it gives a special. No, it gives us. Then you have this team of these three people working together. It's very cool.
And I cannot describe for you the joy of working with some of my very smartest friends in the world dancing around in the playground of our teacher's mind.
And can we, very brief question. Then, for example, we are starting to translate, learn and translate. Can we use it now?
Yes, and I can help people to be able to start to use it. Absolutely.
I
You
mean,
can, by the way,
I mean
you can
to,
search it with Gopher.
Yes.
Can you show that, or should I show that?
You have a version in Gopher?
I think I do.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm asking Nick if he
Oh,
has
okay.
a version of the
Oh, I have it. I
ACI.
have it here. Now watch. Give me a word, Xiaoping. Give me a word from your translation.
We should switch to Geshe-la's computer.
do
on?
what?
We already did.
Oh, we did?
Give me a word from.
No,
your
this is
any
me.
word.
It's not true.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, Dunwa. Okay. Oh, I'm not up there.
That's you, Nick.
Go ahead, guys. Take over.
Okay, so we're gonna use their dictionary to do her translation. Okay, so we look up Dunwa. Okay, Vinaya, and we go to that hypertext. We call hypertext dictionary. Okay, so and there it is.
Oh, this is cool.
Where'd it go?
It's
Yeah.
right there.
Oh, it's right in the red. Okay. Vowel morality. Okay, there. Okay, pick another strange word from your translation.
My translation.
Gyatso Ningbo. It's called Gyatso Ningbo.
Oh, Gyatso Ningbo.
Gyatso.
Ocean?
What is it? Here.
Ocean?
Ocean.
Conjure gets
13 matches in that file.
Oh,
Gyatso.
there's many matches, right? There's Gyatso, Ocean.
Yeah.
Okay, these are the words I chose
Hmm.
from my translations. Do a Gyatso Ningbo.
But it doesn't show the context.
No, you can
Not
jump to
yet.
that later.
Oh.
Not yet.
We need more programming, but this way you get all my words
Mhm.
already finished. You know,
Oh.
that 1/3
Yeah.
of what I did in my life,
Okay, wow.
they finished.
And not yet checked by others to make sure
It-
we're doing the right thing.
If I could just say, the data is there for a very rich program. Okay, so the data is being produced. We need a container to put it in that makes it beautiful for people to look at. But the data is being produced. Every word is linked to its meaning, and every word and meaning are linked to a file, a course, when and where it was translated. So all we need is work on the display.
So I can see there is one program that is linked. So the hypertext of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are done automatically by the space that you did we were doing just now.
Yeah.
So there is one, and then there is a source file, and then there is this output file where we can search through Gopher. Is that right?
Say that again?
The hypertext file that
Yeah.
Geshe-la used, that is the output.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
dictionary.
Not of that,
That's a,
not of
it's-
that one program, it's,
Yeah,
There's
it's a
another
text
but
file.
you can't, right now, there's no program to go from the dictionary to go see where did he use that one.
Ah,
Yeah.
that is being
Yeah,
developed.
that
as
has to be
Spencer.
developed,
Oh,
and that needs money.
oh, that's cool. Okay. So the 1, 2, 3, 4 hypertexting is done automatically by the program. It's not
Right.
manual, right?
Right. The program, when you hit spacebar,
will
it puts the
automatically-
appropriate number around those two terms.
we used to do it manually.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, okay, that's tough. And then another one is to do the rendering of the Tibetan text, is that right?
That program does do the Tibetan rendering. It's not very good at it. It
Okay.
makes a few classic mistakes that before you use it, before you work on the project, unfortunately at the moment, because we need money and programmers, at the moment you have to be trained on what common errors to expect
Okay,
so that you don't screw those up.
I see, okay. Cool, thanks.
Okay? Okay, Lama? Okay, thank you.
Lot of work, intense amount of work. Somebody has to link them.
It's so much fun. We have so much fun. It's such
It's beautiful work. It's beautiful. And that's a clean dictionary. It's a correct dictionary.
Doctor was asking the member of the team doing this. He's
Well,
asking-
all the teams are connected. You know, he's putting in the Chinese. He's doing those three are doing the English, but that depends on Phil's work. Some of that depends on Adam's work. Some of that depends on her work, Nicole's work. It all connects with each other. You know, it's very cool.
Is there Chinese inside?
He's working on that, and maybe I think you want to show. Are you in a position to talk about it this afternoon?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, he can describe it this afternoon.
他下来展示一下。
Okay.